One of the problems with international politics is the same problem with national politics. It's about truth, and at what point do you stop believing somebody? And so Trump goes on to the television, and there's lots of reports about Trump having a telephone conversation with Putin, and it simply isn't true. It simply isn't true. The Trump's claims that he had discussions with Putin, it was actually the real estate investor and the commentator Ed Witkoff, who is Trump's emissary, who was actually doing the conversation. He says he has a good and productive conversation with Putin. It isn't true. It isn't true. Reports have surfaced that it wasn't Trump who spoke with Putin, but this lesser-known figure, Ed Witkoff, and with no official diplomatic standing. This discrepancy raises crucial questions. Is this a case of deliberate misdirection, an internal miscommunication within Trump's orbit, or simply an opportunistic grab at the headlines? On social media, Trump painted a very dramatic picture. Thousands of Ukrainian troops are completely surrounded by the Russian military and in a very bad and vulnerable position. I strongly requested to President Trump that their lives be spared. This would be a horrible massacre, one not seen since World War II. Now, one might ask, is this an accurate reflection of the battlefield reality? Well, not quite. Within minutes, Ukrainian officials dismissed claims of their forces being encircled in Kursk, calling it outright disinformation. Instead, they clarified their troops had repositioned to more strategically favourable positions. In other words, no horrible massacre was imminent, at least not in the way Trump described it. Yet Trump's framing here is significant. By invoking World War II imagery and casting himself as a wartime intermediary, he's not only appealing to an American audience nostalgic for grand statesmanship, but also attempting to insert himself into international diplomacy in ways that are unconventional, to say the least. And if Trump didn't actually speak with Putin, but instead relied on information relayed by Witkoff, then we must consider another angle. Why was Witkoff in the picture at all? Unlike seasoned diplomats or intelligence officials, Witkoff is not known for high-level global negotiations. His reported involvement is reminiscent of past episodes where non-traditional figures, whether real estate developers, former sports stars, television personalities, people who wear strange socks, have been drawn into Trump's orbit for diplomatic purposes. Think of Dennis Rodman's peculiar role in North Korea, or Jared Kushner's shadow diplomacy in the Middle East. The broader implication is clear. Trump doesn't operate within conventional foreign policy channels. Instead, he seeks to bypass traditional institutions using personal contacts, informal envoys, and the media speculate about what's going on, with good reason. And Trump uses the media as well to shape his global narratives, and the latest instance suggests that he's still employing the same tactics at the moment, only 7 weeks into office. If we take a step back and we analyse what Russia might gain from all this, whether Trump directly spoke to Putin or not, the Kremlin benefits from any perception that Trump is actively engaging with Russia on Ukraine. This fuels narratives that undermine the Biden administration's previous activities, and it gives Moscow significantly more leverage. The system has changed. Trump is personally engaging, but it's not true. The US is internally divided on Ukraine. Trump believes that negotiations with Trump can end the war in a way that Biden's approach didn't. This weakens Western unity, particularly as Europe is caught in the middle. Trump remains this power broker, and by entertaining figures like Witkoff, Putin signals that Trump's unofficial diplomacy might be worth engaging with, keeping channels open in anticipation that there will be a deal in Putin's favour. What we are seeing here is a fascinating mix of misinformation, spectacle, and the real-world consequences. And Trump's claim that he directly engaged with Putin on Ukraine's behalf was at best exaggerated and at worst entirely false. And if that level of duplicity is going on about what Trump thinks has happened, then how exactly does he think he can get any honest discussion going at all? The deeper issue isn't just about who actually spoke to whom, it's about how Trump continues to present himself as a global player despite not actually being in control, despite not actually having these conversations. The entire episode illustrates Trump's preferred method of conducting foreign affairs: direct appeals to his audience, an embrace of informal channels, and a dramatic, often alarmist framing of international events. And whether it's effective diplomacy or just a campaign stunt remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: Trump's influence over narratives surrounding Russia and Ukraine is far from over.